Hi, guys.
Happy
Welcome
Friday.
to Faz Radio. That intro was brought to you by Nate Harper and his band of merry men. I think we actually need a slightly shorter intro. I don't know how to do that with the music we have, but maybe it can be remixed. We're taking volunteers to remix that intro so it can be faster because we have no money.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
So we have a few things to talk about tonight. One of them is I'm really annoyed with Elizabeth Warren, and I'm also very annoyed with Gala Games. It takes a lot to get me annoyed at Gala Games. I mean, I was just talking to Bitbender 2 weeks ago, and he made me feel all like warm and gushy inside. But
I bet he did.
He did. That's what he does.
He's your hero.
He's not a bad guy.
I didn't say he was. I said he was your hero.
Well, yeah, you've already ruined him. You're like, no, he's not the bad guy. Everybody he works for is bad.
I have no opinion on that. I just smile and sit here and let you apologize.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have brought on Mr. Jesse Hines. Very much appreciate Jesse Hines coming on to weigh in on some of these issues. He is on the Crypto Faz Discord, which is in the lower right-hand side. If you want to see his very important commentary on these subjects, he sometimes says things that I agree with. See, I had to get the button there at the last second.
You automatically disagree with everybody.
Well,
just to get the drama moving.
The part of argument, you're muted, by the way, Jesse. The part of argument is to take an opposing side. All I want to see is evidence. And a lot of people are convinced and they have points. And I don't disagree with that. I'm fine with that. But I'm arguing with a different. I actually don't make it very personal. I'm just like, okay, I'm happy to disagree with you. Let's go. Rolling up my sleeves. And everybody else is like, fuck you, Faz.
Well, you make me disagree with you because then you disagree without evidence. You disagree because people don't have evidence, but then you don't bring evidence. So then I disagree with you for not having evidence.
Okay. I do like to do what other people do, which is speculate. And I do like to separate the speculation from the evidence stuff. And I like to say things like, wow, somebody has just said that. If that is true, then that, and that, and that.
That's fair.
And sometimes what happens is the conversation goes on long enough, and then all of a sudden people are like, well, Faz actually said this. And I do make sure I CYA and make sure that I did say I was speculating, but I see what you mean. It's easy to get that confused.
And then you got the best ones where I want to throw things when I'm talking to him because you'll give him evidence and he'll go, well, I don't like that evidence.
I didn't say that. I don't say that. I say that I need this evidence to be reproducible. I mean, this is the person that says he doesn't believe that people have walked on the moon. Okay. So I can't go to the moon and verify. However, I need it to be able to be verifiable. Okay. So Titan, me, and Forged in Crypto were talking in chat the other day, and Forged in Crypto was drinking, as he has before, and he asked the question, how do you actually trust what other people say, or something along those lines? And like, how do you actually come to believe things that other people say? And yeah, like the rest of you, I like to see it from multiple sources, multiple credible sources. And I mean, if I could find a reference somewhere and an opinion of a few people, preferably, well, in the case of the moon, I mean, just any scientist, frankly. Most scientists, like 99.9% of scientists agree there. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can't verify, like, what the devious plans of certain gaming companies are. That's if they're even called gaming companies. We'll get into that, too, because Titan doesn't think that Gala Games is a gaming company. What are they, Mr. Titan?
They're a blockchain company.
But that's what they've said they are?
That's what was posted on Twitter.
Okay. Anyway, I don't want to go that direction just yet. So I want to start with Elizabeth Warren, who's being a pain in the ass. So she put this bill in through Congress, or she posted this bill. She's a senator. We call that introduced a bill.
Yeah.
Introduced a bill that actually looks worse than it actually sounds, in my opinion, if you actually start reading it. And I'll admit, I use ChatGPT to help me understand this bill. It doesn't say a lot. It just says we're going to go after certain people. And I think they're just, but publicly she's saying we're going to go after everybody. And it seems to me to almost be kind of a snoozer, but it's being marketed as like we're going to crack down on crypto. Would people agree or disagree with that?
I don't think so. What she's trying to do, I think, is level the playing field with banks, right? Because she's part of the banking subcommittee, and a lot of what she has put forth in the past as well really seems to cater quite heavily towards the banking industry.
Well, I know that she's been saying she wants to regulate this stuff like banks, but I didn't exactly see that stuff in her bill. I saw basically that they wanted to be able to go after stuff, and that seems to be about it. It seems to be I actually wrote something up on Crypto Faz Academy. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. While I look that up, did you have any 2 cents on Elizabeth Warren stuff, Jesse?
Yeah, so I assume we're talking about the one that she introduced, I think, yesterday, like the Anti-Money Laundering Act or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my biggest thought on that is that, it's one of those bills where they say it's bipartisan, right? Because she has a Republican on board. Obviously Elizabeth Warren is a Democrat, and she has a Republican on board, but she has like one Republican on board. And I think he's like the guy from Kansas, and I don't really know much about him, but I know that the experiences I've seen from him are, not somebody who I'd probably go to a party with, or if I did, he'd be like the center of attention because he's like talking about how the earth is flat. It
is.
Hey, those are fighting words with Titan. Yeah. You better be quiet.
Yeah. So, and in the House, I know they're trying to introduce a similar bill, and they're not actually getting bipartisan support. So it's one of those things where, yeah, they are trying to take AML language and apply it to crypto, to mining, to all these kind
mixers.
Of things.
Okay.
Yeah, mixers.
Yeah, that's. I just looked to see what I wrote here. The bill seems to be only targeting mixers.
Any unhosted wallet, anything that doesn't have a custodian.
Yeah.
Does it really say that? Unhosted wallets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything that's not under control of a compliant and regulated entity.
Okay, so that actually is a bit of a big deal. If she's saying we're targeting mixers, but it's really going after just unhosted wallets, because that would mean you have to register
not. It's going after a lot of things, all of that stuff. What they basically want to do is turn all of crypto and the wallets into a big giant bank account, and they want access to be able to do things such as freeze funds or track people closer or better, and so on and so forth. Just like a regular bank account.
It's not going to get passed. That's just the most important thing to know is it's not going to get passed.
Well, and if you couple that with her track record, people were saying today that only 11 of her bills in all the years that she's been in there have ever been passed.
So that's the thing, is she's a big firebrand. She stands for a lot, but if you don't actually try to work with people, you're just blowing a lot of hot air. So that's
kind of like we do here.
Now that I did respond to that right away. Somebody on Twitter right after it happened, I was like, given her track record, well, I think we're fine. But
yeah.
So that was I just wanted to just bring that up because it rather pissed me off.
So a question that I had for Jesse regarding this, because you're way better. I thought I knew this stuff really well from all my years of experience on the security side, but I'm finding that I need to keep quiet now more because you know way more than I do about this stuff at this point.
Now he does. He might not have known a couple years ago.
No, listen. So I did. I spent 12 years and I was registered up to principal, which means I had to supervise KYC, AML, and suitability. So I was deep in there, right? So my question is, do you think it's actually feasible for them to want to require that? Or do you think it's a pipe dream that they would ever get something like that, even whether it's Warren or somebody else, something even similar passed?
Well, I think it's kind of impossible, right? Like, how do you regulate that on unhosted wallets? How do you force people to do that, in something that doesn't rely on an intermediary? I think it's kind of one of those things where right now, I mean, I don't want to say crypto is unregulated because it is regulated in a sense, but let's say it's unregulated and you want to get it to a point of regulation. Sometimes you have to have those people who shoot those crazy ideas out there so that you can kind of meet in the middle. And I think they're going to find a way to meet in the middle where they might not regulate, or they might not do KYC on those DEXs and things like that. But on the centralized entities, any kind of exit point where you can go from crypto to cash, that's probably where they're going to do it. And they're probably going to add some different kind of technology, like instead of know your customer, know your transaction, where you can get wallets that are, commonly linked to people who are engaged in fraudulent activities or terrorist activities or whatever, and then be able to link, it's blockchain. It's very easy to follow, the line and link who's doing business with these people, and then actually start, blocklisting those wallet addresses as well. And I think that's where it's going to come in, but not like a full KYC AML of every single individual who's ever touched a cryptocurrency.
One of my favorite talks that I heard you in, I was coming back from a business trip not too long ago, and you were on with Jeremy, and you guys hammered on some of this stuff tremendously well. And I mean, I really think that the way that you guys presented that, and you take the baby steps, and you take the step and you see kind of what happens, and you ask the questions, and then you move to that next step. I think that's probably going to be the way a lot of this irons itself out, is instead of like going all in and just hoping for the best. And unfortunately, I think a lot of these crypto companies and people who are talking about building Web3 things are just diving in without realizing it and saying, let's see what happens.
Oh, yeah. That's that's many tech startups, right? That's kind of what they do. They think they're solving a problem and they just create a new one.
Well, okay. I want to actually defend that concept a little bit, because that's how you get innovation.
Yeah.
Is people just throw themselves at a problem, and one of them's going to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's you want to encourage that kind of stuff. So I'm not against that. The problem is it's just a mill of wasted money from our point of view, but from a venture capitalist point of view, it's a bet, it's a gamble, and they're happy to do that kind of stuff. So you'll always see that, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I've worked with a lot of startups, and you're right. You don't know what the answer is going in. You think you might know the answer, but there are companies that find out that they're wrong, and then they pivot, and then there are companies that find out that they're wrong, and they just blow through it and keep pretending like they're right, and getting more money. So that's kind of where the line happens.
Well, have you seen that demotivator poster, the demotivator poster set? I don't know if you've heard of that. One of them says like, they make fun of this motivation kind of poster set that's frequently hanging in offices. But one of them says, consulting, if you want to, make money by prolonging the problem. They show two people shaking hands. Yeah. There's a lot of money to be made in prolonging problems. And a lot of companies, just like you see influencers on YouTube, not being very honest about what they're hawking, and everybody in crypto not being honest about what they're hawking. There's certainly a lot of money to be made by not being honest, but by claiming honesty. And it's really hard to find the good companies.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think they're approaching it from the wrong way. Instead of collaborating with these companies and finding out and encouraging them to do it the right way. Like Hester Pierce, I think, needs to be running the show over there, because she's not only open to this stuff, she understands the innovation, but also she's willing to work with people. And when she says, unlike Mr. Gensler, right, says, come in and let's talk about it, she's not going to slap them with a subpoena 15 minutes later. She'll actually work with them and help them to become compliant. And I think she would bring a much different aura to this whole space rather than the approach that's been used so far. So I would like to see senators and congressional members bringing up bills instead that take the ability to put people into that gray area, and then have, whether it's the SEC, the CTFC, or any of those, come in then and guide them on how to achieve what it is they want to achieve. Seed Starter's doing that right now, right? You're guiding people in the best path so far to take, and you're walking it through a process that's been approved, right? To do things the right way. So I would like to see our lawmakers doing it the same way that you're approaching it. I don't think it gets solved until that happens.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about that, though, thinking about Commissioner Pierce, I've been a big fan of hers for a very long time. But there was a point in time where people were saying, well, I know she's saying to come in, but why should I? These laws don't apply to us. A lot of blockchain companies and things like that were saying none of these laws apply to us. Why do I need to talk to the SEC? None of their laws should apply. And then it took something like, Chairman Gensler coming in and just cracking down hard. And I'm not saying it was a good thing, but it took that for a lot of people to be like, oh, I'll work with Commissioner Pierce, right? I'll do that. But for a while, that wasn't a thing, so that it's an interesting perspective that sometimes these hammers, while not great, do help to create this kind of path forward that's a more reasonable middle ground.
Absolutely.
Wait a second. Okay, sorry. I was trying to figure out how to unmute. It's becoming obvious to me that the SEC doesn't want a path forward, and I would suggest that Gary Gensler is just doing political stuff, that he really doesn't care. I mean, they've showed him teaching class. You've seen videos of him teaching classes before he became SEC secretary. Is this secretary? Head? Whatever.
Assistant to the deputy assistant secretary.
He's the chairman.
That's what it's called.
Okay, chairman. Thank you. So it's clear that he knew something, and he might actually agree with a lot of crypto-oriented people, but it's become obvious to everybody that he's just somebody's hitman at this point, and that they don't have the clearest direction. Their direction, actually, to be honest, seems to me very Republican in nature. They're just pushing forward with an unworkable plan. It looks unworkable. It acts unworkable. So that's the disappointment that I have, is they're not actually trying to solve the problem. If at anything, at best, they're trying to delay the problem. But to what end? They haven't come up with a solution for it. I mean, they're just going to delay it till the next Republican administration then, and the Republicans will... Well, they're for it now because the Democrats are against it. But the Republicans used to be against crypto too.
I'm not an SEC apologist, right? But the important thing that a lot of people tend to forget is the SEC doesn't make laws. This is a Congress issue. I get it. Chairman Gensler said things in the past, and now he's saying different things. And sometimes people's opinions just change, and sometimes their eyes are opened up by new things. But realistically speaking, we're like mucking around in the mud of something that the SEC shouldn't even be handling. This should be in Congress's hands. They should be passing laws, and they should have passed laws 4 years ago. They should have passed laws 8 years ago, but we're still here.
It seems to me like it's a power struggle of some sort, where somebody in the government has determined that crypto, probably the finance people, banking, treasury, whatever, FDIC has determined, not FDIC, Federal Reserve, has determined that crypto is going to go around the US dollar and our traditional system. I believe that somebody in government thinks it's a matter of national security, and that's why they're pulling this bullshit that they're doing right now. It is, because if the dollar starts becoming subservient to Bitcoin, we have lost our control. Let me give a little background. In World War II, most of the world's economies, big economies, were destroyed by war, by the Germans and Japanese. The United States was relatively unscathed, and we were able to provide leadership in critical areas, infrastructure and finance. And we did, and we rode a wave that we built starting in the 1940s up until now. Now, once Bitcoin came along, that's starting to threaten that. I would say other things were too, but Bitcoin was accepted because people are starting to get really pissed that the United States is still running the world off the dollar. Isn't it true that there's certain things that you can buy, like wheat and wool and oil or something like that, that's priced only in US dollars? You have to have US dollars to buy these things. That puts us at a heck of an advantage. There are countries that use the US dollar for their legal tender. Argentina just moved over to it, I think, and I believe Nigeria does it. That means when we print more dollars, it's not only a tax on us, but it's a tax on other countries too. So we have this almost inexhaustible supply of dollars that we can pull from. If Bitcoin crypto becomes big, it threatens all that. All that goes away, and the United States loses control, and then now we can't be as irresponsible as we have been with fiscal policy. That's my rant.
I mean, it could, right? But at the end of the day, if you really think about it, and it's important to put this one caveat out there, is a separate conversation needs to be had about whether securities laws need to be changed. Okay, so just throwing that out there. But the truth is, a vast, maybe not majority, but a good amount of blockchain and cryptocurrency companies, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but they have violated securities laws. Now, once again, we can talk about whether these securities laws should be as they are, but they have. There's a lot of fundraising going on that's not following the traditional model of how fundraising should happen under securities laws. And so, what is happening is that a lot of people are getting accused of fundraising in illegal manners, in unlawful manners, unregistered security offerings. And it might feel like this big hit job. And, there probably is some politics there, but there's, on the side of law, you can kind of paint any argument you want. And the argument that crypto companies are issuing unregistered securities isn't far-fetched. It's realistic.
Well, is it realistic? Okay. So we just talked about how capitalism works is that companies will try anything and everything to see what sticks and then run with that. To me, it's a gamble with all these Web3 companies. And yes, I'm looking at you too, Playable, where they come up with a way that they're doing something that's not entirely legal. And they just want to see how far they can get. And I singled out Playable because they are actively telling you, you're going to profit off this. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And of course, they've located themselves in Saudi Arabia or some Arab country, Dubai, to where it's okay. Well, sorry, the U.S. government's going to come after you if you have eventually.
If you have U.S. customers, yeah.
One, they're going to cut off U.S. customers, but I mean, if they get going with multiple countries, they're then going to go to the next step and start saying, hey, Dubai, we're not going to give you those fighter jets until you turn in this Playable guy, which is what they did with CZ Binance, not with fighter jets, but they put that kind of pressure on CZ Binance. Now CZ Binance is like, okay, well, I violated some U.S. laws. I got to pay the piper and I'm stepping down. That's how the U.S. enforces its vision around the world. An example of how they do it. So that's what gets me is all these companies are trying whatever they can try. And yes, in deference to Jesse, some of them know that they're not going according to existing laws, but they're also asserting that crypto is not subject to these existing laws. So how do you tell the difference between somebody who's doing that in bad faith and somebody who actually believes that?
It's hard to tell, right? You have to be on the inside. I mean, look at Uber, right? And this isn't even a crypto company. Uber was violating many laws, and they, specifically like the whole medallion, like mafia situation going on there. And when you look at it now, you look at it and you say, well, Uber was right. But then they also violated all these privacy laws, that they were absolutely wrong in. And so, like I said, on the inside, it's the only way you would know is who's doing it right, who's doing it wrong.
But Uber's still around. They're fine. They violated the laws, but there's money to be made to bolster your defense until the government can come after you. So if you make billions of dollars and then the government comes after you, great. All this money, all these ill-gotten gains you've gotten in the meantime can just support your legal case.
Yeah.
And then you can make it work. You can make it legal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from the inside, from a legal perspective, the question always comes down to, you're always going to be trying to push and stretch laws, but when are you realizing that you have no actual argument and you're still pushing it, saying you have an argument? That's at least where I come from, where I draw the line earlier because I'm a lawyer and I'm conservative, but if I was a founder in that area, that's where I think the line would be drawn.
Well, so I'd like to mention a company like Gala Games. I got interested in Gala. Yeah, I know you won't have any comment about that.
That's why he's saying it. He doesn't want you to comment.
Well, I got interested in Gala Games partially because I saw that their founder was a lot like Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs was an asshole. He got things done because he pushed things through, pressed people's buttons, and was a general asshole to everybody that worked for him. And of course, people who didn't work for him. And I saw, this is a bet. This is a risk. This is a possibility he could get somewhere. And they're not alone. I think other companies like Playable do similar things. A lot of the Web3 companies are just playing Russian roulette, just hoping that they can make it big. And where was I going with that? I forgot where I was going with that.
No idea.
Who knows?
So I did like, so from a speculation point of view, I think it's cool to speculate on these gaming companies, but speculation is not an investment, in my opinion. I have a problem with the word investment with crypto because you're not buying something. You're not
the can of worms. The can of worms is cracked and is open, and there's worms starting to come out.
All right, you're not buying voting power. You're not getting something. What do you got with crypto? I think it kind of sidesteps what we consider to be traditional assets or traditional like stocks and bonds. Now, yes, could crypto, could NFTs and stuff be effectively or some sort of stock in a company? Maybe. I think that still needs to be hashed out. I think there is an angle where crypto is its own entity, personally, but you have to have support from government agencies for that to happen.
But does something have to be stock to be an investment, right? Like I could go to the store and buy a bunch of candy bars with the goal of selling those candy bars in the street. And those candy bars to me are an investment. It's not stock in the company or the store. The issue isn't the word investment. And like when I buy a lot of crypto and when I buy NFTs, even when I bought early gaming NFTs, I bought them to play it, but I also bought because, if the game takes off, maybe I can sell it for more. Maybe it's worth something.
That's speculation. I guess what's the definition of investment? Did you just say that? What is the definition? I would think investment is you buy something that you hope will grow, right? Well, I mean, speculation does the same thing, but you know that it may not.
But an investment isn't a security, right? So like Pokemon cards could be an investment. Baseball cards can be an investment. It doesn't make it an investment contract. But an investment to me is something like if I buy it, I think that value go up. And that value go up could be from my efforts entirely and nobody else's. But that's how I think about investments.
Okay. Back when the third Star Wars prequel came out, what was that called? Revenge of the Sith. There was a Walmart opening up near me. Mm-hmm. And I knew the Walmart was going to open like a month after Revenge of the Sith came out. And I knew that they were buying all their stock probably a month beforehand. And so I arranged to be in there on that first day to go into the action figure section and buy the rare action figures. And I went in there and I bought up all the stuff that I knew was rare because I knew that it would be there. Was that an investment or is that speculation? What is that?
Well, it could be an investment. Speculation is an investment, right? Like if you're speculating that something's going to be worth more, it's an investment. It doesn't mean that you own stock. It doesn't mean it's a security. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It's just you saw something, you think it's going to be more valuable, and you bought it, right? That's it. We're too afraid of the word investment. I don't know why.
The reason I've been making a big deal about investment is because the SEC makes a big deal about the word investment
contract.
Okay, so if the SEC sees on somebody's website that you are offering investments, they will make that their prime example. Oh my God, they're offering investments. You can't say it in your white paper that's an investment, because people will get the idea that's an investment contract. That's why I make such a big deal about the word is, and then to me, then that the SEC is probably talking about some official use of the word, but everybody else uses the unofficial use of the word.
Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So that's all. That says to me that the SEC is capitalizing upon the confusion. Personally.
Well, yeah, there needs to be a clear line, right? Like a company saying this is an investment is a problem, but a company creating something and then a person buying it because it's an investment to them, that's not the issue. You know, where the SEC's, I mean, look, the SEC's overstepping, so I don't want to act like they're these white knights in this situation. But where they're really honing down are where companies are making these statements saying, you know, buy this, you make money, buy this, you get rich. You know, that's where the problem comes, because then people start to have these expectations. But if I just make something, and let's say I sell rocks in the street and somebody decides, oh, I can make money off those rocks, you know, and they do, and they make money. It's not like I sold an investment to them. They just decided that those rocks were an investment to them and they made money on them.
It's maybe so then it's who's defining what if money is to be made, right? So that might be an easier way to break it down. So if a company sells something with the intention to make it valuable versus a person just assuming it'll be valuable and doing what they will with it, is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Okay, wait. I'm thinking about the rocks analogy here.
It's a bad analogy. I just thought of whatever I could think of.
Well, I'm just thinking if you bought certain rocks and you were able to make the, well, I'm thinking of the De Beers company who owns like 90% of diamonds and has made diamonds a lot more valuable than they actually are by controlling the market. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Are diamonds an investment for them?
For them, but I mean, like you buy a diamond from them, you know, an engagement ring, you might think that I can buy this diamond and make money, but are you buying an investment contract in their company? No, you know.
Well, they can control the supply and demand, apparently, you know, because they own like 90% of the market, and you know, so that to me says that, okay, you are depending on their efforts.
Yeah, but a big key to it is like, are they going out there being like, buy this, me make you money, right? You know, that, I don't know why I went with bad grammar on that explanation, but I did. But, you know, are they saying like, buy this, and because we're going to build this thing, it's, you know, you have a reasonable expectation, maybe not in those words, but, you know, you think you can make money because I'm going to create this whole thing. No, with diamonds, they're just selling you diamonds and that's it. You know, they're not promising you to make a market on diamonds. You might know they're going to, but they're not making any promises, and they're not making like diamond version 2.0 where you can put that diamond and it dances for you or something, you know.
If you just create 2 diamonds, you'll get a more expensive one.
Well, okay, so I am really glad that you brought that up, because this has been something that I have tried to shove down Faz's throat for 3 years on this show. And that's a really, really valid point that was made, because when you have that expectation there, and Faz is always pushing back on the reliance of others. And if you buy something and there's that expectation that whatever it is only valuable if the company who sold it to you makes it valuable or doesn't make it valuable, there's a big difference between that and rocks.
Yeah.
So that is something, Faz, we have argued about that ad nauseum on this show, and that is that link there that I was trying to get through to you. And we had an interesting discussion, Jesse. I don't know if you were part of this. This was a way long time ago. You might have even still been employed at that point. We had a big discussion around the whole thing with expectations on that, and how companies can set expectations without saying anything about setting expectations. And that is a really gray area that is starting to flesh itself out, in my opinion, right?
Okay,
so let me use an example of like the Lightning Network for Bitcoin. Meaning you have this company, it's a lab, right? It's Lightning Labs that develops this layer 2 on top of Bitcoin. So people are buying in and paying fees on that and using that layer 2. And is that an expectation that can be set? Because Lightning Labs is there to collect fees, make money, and develop further. That is that a definition of that? It's so gray. Anything could be considered that at this point. How do we tighten that down?
Well, the best answer would be Congress, right? Like passing laws explaining what this means. But the truth is, the way that we're tightening it down is the SEC is throwing a bunch of lawsuits against the wall, and we're going to see which ones stick. I'm not going to say I like this approach, but I do feel that in 5 years, we're going to have a better idea of what an investment contract is solely because they did this. Now, once again, I want to say I wish it was just Congress passing laws. That's the better way.
That to me says the SEC doesn't even know how to go about solving this problem if they're just throwing bullshit and trying to get some sort of clarity that way. And it's not, by the way, it's not them looking for clarity, in my opinion. It's them trying to own the space. They want to say, these are securities. We reserve the right to define what securities are. And they've even gone as far as to say something could be a currency and a security at the same time.
Which it can. That makes sense. But the truth is, look, like I said, I hate to play the side of like SEC apologist. I hate to defend them, but they're not wrong in a lot of the arguments they're making. They are wrong in arguments, but there has been a lot of unregistered securities by the book of what an unregistered security is in the blockchain space. Once again, we should probably talk about that book, and we should probably rewrite those rules. But
could it be because crypto makes a lot of money? Because I would bet that there's a number of products out there that could be considered unregistered securities. Just regular, cheap products. I don't have any examples. I had some the other day, but I forgot them. I bet there's a lot of things that can't be that would be considered unregistered securities, personally.
Well,
maybe.
Okay, here's one. My son had a toy where you dig out this little gem or something from this action figure they gave you, and they had some rare ones and not very rare ones. Oh, and of course, Magic the Gathering is another good example. You have rare things and not rare things. They sell them in packets, and obviously, they've got a fan club, and obviously they fan the flames of the fan club, and obviously, frankly, the fact that they're still making cards and these action figures are still making these little gems and stuff like that. People are find value in that. The longer Magic the Gathering, I'm just switching to Magic the Gathering. The longer Magic the Gathering is around, the more, in my opinion, the older stuff is going to be worth, because it's constantly it's an advertisement. Ooh, this is a really rare card. We never reprint this one. I mean, isn't that a similar kind of thing?
Okay, so it's so hard to compare things, right? But, when you think about a Magic the Gathering card that you have, do you have a reasonable expectation that the money that you're giving them is going to develop something for your card specifically that's going to increase its value. Maybe they're
I
developing the
think
game.
I think I do. Also, Magic cards appreciate better pound for pound than gold does.
Yeah, but
So-
just because something goes up in value doesn't mean you have an expectation that it's going to go up in value, or a reasonable expectation that's based on the efforts of that company.
Well, Magic the Gathering, for example, now they're co-branding. I think they have a Doctor Who set. They have a Doctor Who set, which I bought. They have a Warhammer set. They have this set. They have that set. So yeah, my Doctor Who set's going to be worth something more because they're going into Warhammer and they're going into other Walking Dead. They have a Walking Dead set. So it's, to me, yes, it is reasonable to expect that I'm going to get more money.
Okay,
They can also point to the fan club too.
What other utility are they building for your card? You know, like what else is happening for your card? Or are you just saying they're building the entire ecosystem and they're being good business people and they're bringing in more companies to the ecosystem?
They are doing that, yes.
That's a little different than, like, let's say you bought a card and the company also, in a sense, created a secondary market for that card. And, you know, the expectation is, oh, well, you buy this and you can sell it. You own it. You can do whatever you want with it. And we have this market because of the technology that we created. You know, that's what starts to put blockchain in a whole nother confusing realm, is that, like, every company who creates some kind of smart contract, they're doing it because of the, you know, like Magic cards, someone else has to create that secondary market. But in blockchain, you know, it's like inherently already created for you.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we've been going for a while, so we should probably wrap this topic up if we want to stay close to an hour. But
I wanted to actually get to the gala, the gala thing this week.
I do want to close with this. I tried to jump in a few times there. One of my big concerns, right? You guys can roll your eyes at me all you want. I do have a serious problem with Congress developing laws around crypto, because the vast majority of them are corrupt. There's lobby money. There's bankers with a lot of money.
They don't know.
And there's you have people who walk in there and they get a $200,000 salary, and by the time they leave Congress, they're worth $16 million. So I think the whole system needs an upgrade. I think an independent council, an independent body somewhere needs to be the one that creates the laws on that, to take everything out of it. Because Faz, you said it yourself just a few minutes ago, crypto's got a ton of money too. So now you're going to have this battle where the lawmakers are going to sit back and they're going to watch their treasuries fill up with banking money and crypto money. And in the meantime, we're the ones that are going to end up getting fucked on this side of it, because we don't know which one of them are going to pay those people more money.
That's a much bigger lift if you're going to start asking to change how the government works.
Where are you going to find the independent entity, and what makes them independent?
Jesse, I wish I had an answer, man. But I know that money talks, just like in law, right? The person with the most money gets the most favorable law treatment.
No matter what country, that's universal. That's worldwide, by the way.
Right. So in Congress, I think there's an inherent problem with that we need to ferret that stuff out and get people in there that aren't career politicians, that get those term limits in. We've got to reform Congress before we can reform the laws.
I think that's a really big lift and a subject of its own dedicated podcast.
I get you. Episode. But I just want to get that out there, because we even talked about it at the beginning of this cast, right? Warren is on these banking committees and suddenly she's against crypto. Well, whatever committee that you're on where you're getting the PAC money and everything else funneling into you is kind of where your loyalty is gonna lie. And that, unfortunately, is not good for you, me, and Jesse over there, who just want to get into this technology and have a great future with what this technology can provide.
Zorro suggests that you talk to Elon Musk about changing that system. He's the only one with enough money.
Yeah, he's working on it. He's doing a pretty good job so far, I think.
All right. I do have limited time, so I want to get into the subject that I really wanted to get into, which was about Gala Games introducing this bridging system, or their bridging system. So Gala Games has their own blockchain now. Is it called Gala Chain now? Is that its
Yes.
actual name? So if you want to use NFTs in Gala, on the games in Gala Games on their site, then
Oh my God.
you need to have it on Gala Chain. And previously, everything's been on the Ethereum blockchain, and the games at the Gala Games website have used them on the Ethereum blockchain, but not anymore. They've come up with their own chain because they want to do things that only they can do. See our previous episode from Bitbender explaining that. And apparently, it's a big fee to move things to and from this Gala chain. Can you verbalize this a little bit better than me, Mr. Titan?
So, what part? Because there's a lot of moving parts here. The actual moving.
It seems to be really expensive to play a game. It's like, oh, I'm going to play a Gala game. I got an NFT. I'm going to pay $200 for this NFT. Okay, now I've earned $200. Let's pull this out. Oh shit, the fees are $200. What the fuck? So what have you gained? And who gets the fees?
Yeah, so that is a giant mess right now. So you have a couple of components here, and there are certain individuals who are blaming it on ETH, and oh my God, the ETH fees are there, and the narrative is, oh, ETH is the problem. ETH isn't the problem on any bridging fee in the Gala ecosystem, because if you go to etherscan.io, you can push a little button at the top, and it'll open up a box, and it'll tell you exactly what the bridging fees are. And lately, those bridging fees have been anywhere from $12 to $35. Yet the fee to move anything from Gala Chain to ETH has been $80, $220, $450.
Who gets those?
Nobody gets them, technically.
They're supposed to be burned.
Right.
Above what Gala uses, and then you would think the way that works is that half goes to Gala, half goes to nodes at the back end, right? Like it adds to the distribution pool.
The back end of the distribution pool, it's not paid out today. Remember this was like a year ago when they came up with that that system, right, where if you buy something in the store, the money's burned and then it goes to the back of the queue. They're trying to pump up the back end as the node rewards go down, there's still going to be funds available down the road.
Really quick, a sidebar about burning, and this is just something I think about from time to time. Why do people burn crypto? Why do companies burn crypto? If things are supposed to be decentralized, why do you see various companies burning this crypto? Can anybody respond to that?
I don't want to speak for every company, but a lot of companies that I've seen do it, not all, do it because they think it's going to pump the price of the token.
So the whole, it seems to me that the whole purpose of a burn, and I mean even including XRP, my favorite, they burn XRP. Whatever those are called.
Like minor burns could be for spamming, to prevent spamming, right? I thought you meant like large burns.
Well, I was thinking, well, that too, yeah. I was thinking burns in general, because any odd crypto, every once in a while, will be like, we're introducing a burn. Wouldn't that be like a red flag for the SEC right there? If you're burning all this stuff, we're going to come after you. I mean, that says to me, if you're burning, you want the price to go up.
Yeah, alone in a vacuum, it's not enough, but it's definitely part of the analysis where they see, hey, why did you do this burn? And then, a lot of it will be, what was the marketing around this burn? Like, we did this because of X, and there's a really good reason they did it. That's one thing. But the other is like, we did it because we love you and price go moon, right? That's like a whole nother situation.
Or broken English.
Yeah.
So Gala Games is burning. Every time you purchase an NFT, they're saying how they burn a certain amount, which I don't know what that amount was. but they burn a certain amount. They take some for themselves. I thought they actually said that they burn all of it.
Well, they do. So they in the case of this, they're like, let's say they spend $15 in that bridge fee. From my understanding, they're refunding themselves that $15 and then taking the remainder and burning it, right? Like, burn is a weird word because that token is burned, but then a new like allowance of that token is created in the contract that will then go to node owners at some point, because now there's this whole, the way that the node owner halvings worked are not based on like time periods, it's based on how many tokens are left. And then they're adding to the back end so that number keeps increasing in a sense. So it makes halvings go by slower.
But it's also going to prevent people. Is it going to prevent people right now from, if you burn a bunch of tokens right now, is it going to prevent the nodes from getting more money now? It's just going to push it off to the end. They're just going to get money longer, right?
Yeah. That's essentially it. They get, I don't want to say they get money longer, right? But yeah, the halving, it takes longer for that halving to go into effect.
So why would
pretty complicated system?
So okay. So I was talking to my son the other day about investments and stocks and stuff like that. And he was telling me about things that he's learned in school. And I'm like, you're going to find out pretty quickly when you get into an investment that that's not going to be straightforward. They're always going to have, well, in this case, this is going to happen. Then the interest rate's going to go up. And then you have this thing right here. And if this, especially with crypto, they seem to have all this complication involved with you buying their crypto. Isn't that just par for the course? I mean, everybody does it then, right?
It's friction, and there's good friction and bad friction, and there's legitimate reasons for friction and there's illegitimate reasons for friction. For example, if a company wanted to let's say encourage people to stay within their ecosystem, and they artificially or purposefully jack up fees to $700 for every transaction that
that's
you
called
make.
That's called vendor lock-in in the IT world, and it's quite legal.
So can I finish my thought? While it might be legal, is it A, going to encourage people to join your platform? Or B, is it the right thing to do for the community who has supported you? And C, all you're doing is creating bad friction there. It's just, to me, it's defined as either an intended or unintended consequence. And the power to set those fees has a direct bearing on that as well, right? So ETH, it's based on demand, right? If there's a shit ton of people using the ETH network for a variety of things, there's only so many places that those transactions can go to get validated. So, of course, the fees are going to go up, and the people who are willing to pay more fees are going to go get it to the front of the line. It just might take longer.
But there's
no
max supply of ETH either. They're printing up ETH.
Hang on. So if that's a natural course of things, if you put into place a system that purposefully causes that friction or that fee to go up for the purpose of dissuading people to move assets, that's an entirely different thing. And that's why I'm saying it's in the eye of the beholder as to where that good and that bad line is.
Okay, well then ostensibly,
who does it benefit?
What is the it sounds like you're saying if the sole reason for that is, what's the ostensible reason for Gala Games burning Gala? What have they given any real reason for why they burn Gala? Just so you can get more rewards later?
I that was a while ago. I don't want to comment on that myself because I don't remember exactly the context, and I don't want to say something that I'm just talking out my ass with.
Hey, you're learning. No, I'm just giving you shit.
Wow.
So yes, I cannot think of a good reason why you would want to burn and repopulate unless you have a specific reason, which is I might run out of stuff. But I don't know. I could see Ethereum working without their burn mechanism too. So what's
so with Gala, here's my opinion on that. Okay, everything that the Gala ecosystem has done over the past 12 months has been geared completely and totally towards doing whatever it takes to keep people from selling any asset that they have.
They're doing a bad job of it because they're scaring the shit out of their
so
investors.
It could be just pure coincidence that the dynamic fee structure took effect right when the music token launched. I don't know, right? They could have had that planned for months. I don't know that. What I do know is that when you look back at the node vote to shut down the ability to mint without penalty, that's encouraged to keep people from minting the token. It's encouraged. The Gala fees are ridiculous and that just happens to dissuade people from moving assets off the platform. When everything is geared like that towards one reason, I tend to believe that any other thing that happens after that probably isn't coincidence.
All right.
You got nothing there?
No, I was letting you go. I'm trying to give other people space to talk here because I feel like I've been hogging the microphone here. We got Jesse here. Jesse, as a Gala Games customer, because you own NFTs, right? I don't know. Do you?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. As a Gala Games customer, what do you think of the burning system? Of this new system that they have with the fees, the really high fees, and their promise to burn and so on.
So are we just talking about the minting? You know, the bridging to Ethereum, like how much it costs?
Bridging is what I was asking.
Look, I mean, you know, and I'm not secretive about this. You know, I made I tweeted about it. I don't like it, and I don't really get why it's happening. It really doesn't make much sense. And the biggest reason that people are telling me is it's to, you know, if you're at Gala Games, you should be here to game. You shouldn't be trying to extract value and take value off chain and blah, 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 blah. And that's wonderful and all. But, you know, Gala, when it started, it wasn't just about gaming, right? And now they're saying they're not just a gaming company. They're in L1. It was about gaming and giving people, you know, whether it's people in need or whether it's people in US or whatever, an opportunity to own their assets, but also earn, you know, and not just earn from gaming, but earn from things surrounding gaming, like, you know, decentralized hosting. And when I thought of those ideas, it wasn't, oh, you can earn, but if you want to actually really earn, right, make money from that, you now need to pay these, what I see are extravagant fees, because sometimes they're 10 times of what's happening, you know, this whole surge burning thing, they're 10 times. I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're working on it. But the truth is, I don't see why they can't go back to the system where they just make it $20, you know, every single time. So the short answer is I don't like it. I don't get it. It doesn't really go, in my opinion, with the original goal. You know, I don't want to speculate as to why they're doing it or anything like that, but it doesn't make sense to me personally.
Well, my concern about it is this an ecosystem that can support itself? Because they have said from the beginning, and I believe I've even gotten Bitbender to reaffirm that the ultimate one-day goal is for them to be able to actually step out and let this ecosystem run itself. Now, personally, I think that would be the worst business decision that they could ever make. In fact, they would only step out if they realized that this IP or that this method of doing things was no longer profitable. That's my opinion about when a company would actually step out. But they've also given a timeline, I believe, on their draft white paper, didn't they? Where like 10 years from now, they're going to have decreasing influence as time goes on.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about, right, is decentralization. And I think that's a good model. But the latest steps, in my opinion, like this fee doesn't feel decentralized. It feels centralized, right? Because did I vote on it as a node owner? Did you vote it on? Did anybody vote on it? You know, it doesn't feel like a decentralized thing.
Well, that's another big question is what the fuck do voters actually vote on? I mean, apparently we're only voting on things that Gala Games finds important. Now, of course, I believe we have been told we could certainly submit an idea to be voted on, but when does that happen? How often do we vote? We vote like very, very little. And even then, it seems to me that the votes are almost a rubber stamp on a plan that they have. And they're like, okay, we'd like to do this. And they're not telling you that they got this done like right away. Like the vote on the Gala V2. I mean, it was like, vote done. Okay, we've done it. They had that shit in process. And
we
the
didn't vote on V2.
What's that?
I don't think we voted on V2.
I thought we voted on some aspect of it.
We voted on the node penalty. I'm saying penalty. I know everyone's going to say it's an incentive, but node minting penalty, but definitely not V2. V2 was just like, here you go. This is what you're doing.
Well, I was in the middle of a big move at the time, so I don't recall a lot about that.
Yeah.
Though it did worry me, and I did sell some Gala at that time because it did worry me. But so that would be, in my opinion, worthy of a node vote. But I don't know. I don't like the whole concept of these nodes. They keep moving the cheese. It's first the nodes are going to do this. The founders nodes were going to do this. Then they're going to do that. Then they got new nodes. Then they got Townstar nodes. Then they got it's not Townstar nodes anymore. It's Common Ground nodes. And what are they doing? Well, they're not going to do what they were supposed to do anymore. They're changing how they're working. So on a daily basis or a monthly basis, it's kind of hard to even know what the hell you bought because the cheese keeps getting moved so often. I actually had a friend who had a business like this. He owned a gaming shop. He couldn't make enough money. In my analysis, he couldn't make enough money to get to make a steady profit. He was selling magic cards and stuff like that. And he'd get profit, he'd get bursts of profit, but then the profit would go down. And then he'd switch his business model to other things like video games or classic computers or some other thing. And he'd always be restocking the store with other things. In the end, he just ran out of money and ran out of ideas, but it was a slow decline. And I feel like Gala Games is doing a similar thing with their nodes. They got a great idea. It started making less money, and they're just like, okay, we'll do this now. Okay, we'll do this now. Okay, we'll do this. Well, at a certain point, they're going to step out and be like, okay, we said we were going to step out, when in truth, they could have just been milking the idea for 10 years, and now the idea is milked out.
So one of the things, somebody brought this up, I can't take credit for this thought, and I don't have it in front of me to give the proper credit, but somebody made a really good point in one of the Twitter threads about these Gala fees. And I think it's worth noting that this is a really bad look. If Gala's trying to attract people and companies to build on their chain, and what's happening right now is people are seeing that there's a $300 fee to get stuff from ETH or get stuff to ETH from Gala chain. How is anybody in their right mind from a company standpoint going to want to build on that chain? That's a really stupid move. And
they've already removed one of the primary reasons for building on it. Before it was, let's build on Mirandus or let's build on Superior. Now it's like you could just have whatever on our Gala chain. You could have just whatever, your chess game or your own thing or maybe your music streaming system. They want you to invest something to build on the chain. It's not just gaming anymore.
Well, so that was one of the big things that attracted Gala to Gala chain is that, well, the chain that they built on is there's virtually no fees required. Any fee that you see on Gala chain is Gala imposed, right?
What about fees to go to and from Ethereum?
anything above the bridging fee that ETH has, because ETH does charge a fee to obviously process the transaction to get it onto the ETH chain. So anything above that is something that was chosen by the person on whatever chain they're on, whether it's Gala chain or if, you talked a lot about Playable, right? They have their own chain on the AVAX network. So if they decided they wanted to put a fee on that to bridge from their chain onto AVAX, they could do that. But again, that's optional. Now, do you really want to be doing that to the community? Why would you want to do that to the community? That makes no sense to me.
Well, Gala obviously has a number of suckers. I mean, of people that are willing to continue investing, buying NFTs and buying stuff. They have a number of people that believe them, and to a large degree, I believe in them. However,
I believe I can fly.
However, what I have bought hasn't always been, oh, I just want to play this as a game. They've been speculations of mine, just like me speculating buying those action figures at Walmart, which, by the way, I felt like a total heel when I did it, because there's like this little kid who was like picking action figures off, and I was just pulling all this shit off the shelves. And I was like, you know what? I'm one of those assholes that the kids hate. And so I just took a few and then I left. And then I'm just like, I hated myself, because this kid should have had this nice action figure. Had no one been around, it would have been great. And I think we got to remember still that Web3 is still, all of Web3 is still very profit oriented. And maybe I can wrap things up a little bit, because I need to go, and I have a feeling we're keeping Jesse up late. Don't
care about Titan though, right? Just Jesse.
So I did want to make yet another plug for Seed Starter, where I think that Jesse wants to do things right with crypto. Right being how the SEC probably would like things to be. Is Seed Starter oriented around profit?
Like, is the company oriented around profit?
Well, no. I mean, if I were to buy something,
I'm sure he would like a paycheck.
If I were to get involved with the Seed Starter on your website, I mean, I'm expecting a profit, right?
Absolutely, but they're securities, right? They're registered securities.
So that makes it okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're investing in companies. So for example, one of the things that was just live in a testing the waters was the idea of investing in Seed Starter itself. And what you would own is a royalty interest in the company. So if the company Seed Starter makes money, you make money along with it, in a gross revenue profit. But also in terms of companies that are live, if companies go live on the platform and they are successful and they make money, Seed Starter makes money, and then those who have the royalty make money. Or if you invest in a company that goes live and that company either IPOs or takes investment, depending on what kind of thing they're offering, you can make money off of that as well. And that's the goal, right? You're investing in small businesses, early startups, with the hope of them becoming a unicorn and having $1 billion exit or something like that.
So with Seed Starter, I'm sure each company can do things differently. What I'm actually doing is I might be buying tokens or shares in a company.
Yeah, they could be tokens, they could be shares, they could be credits, debt.
Listen, I told you about that, Faz. There's a guy on there, another fan. Jesse, you got to get back to doing those Twitter spaces, man. I'm serious. I was loving every one of those. There was a guy on there who has vegan hamburgers that's on Seed Starter. And I shot you that note about that. I'm like, get over there. This guy is turning his hamburger stand that he used to do. He has this proprietary recipe for these vegan hamburgers, and he's starting to mass produce them. And I think there's risk, right? Because this guy could flop, right? there's no guarantees on Seed Starter that you're actually going to make money.
How's this different?
But these are great ideas. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm a meat eater. I'm a carnivore. But I'll put money in over here to get this guy rolling, because that's a fantastic idea.
How's this
all you crazy
Kickstarter?
vegans?
How's this different than Kickstarter?
Yeah, so Kickstarter is like a donation, right? You're going to put money into something, and you might get a product, or you might just get the good feeling of, hey, I helped that company start. What this is you actually own a security interest, whether it's stock, whether it's a future stock, token, whether it's, royalty. You're actually literally, it's Kickstarter, but plus investing in these companies.
Okay. I need to get more involved in that. And I would have been earlier, but like I said, I had a lot of moving, a lot of life changing going on, and that's starting to calm down. So I'm going to get back on the site.
And you've got to get your avatar too, Faz.
Avatar? What?
Oh my God. We need to we need to bring you back into the realm of
Seed Starter avatar thing, right? Yeah,
I saw something about that. It was just a cool thing. It's not a sale. It's just like a user benefits where as you use the platform more, you're going to get more free stuff. And you have an avatar, just like they all look the same. But if you do this or if you do that, you're going to get a trait. And so it's going to start to make your avatar look a little bit different than everyone else.
I got to pay you to get all this shit? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's cool levels that you can get to, and there's limits to how many people can be in certain levels.
There will be, right? It's early.
Yeah, this is
yet,
fantastic. Faz, you're missing out, man.
Okay.
You're missing out.
I'll get involved. I have been involved in a very tangential way, but I'll get more involved in the actual site way, or like getting on the site.
And I appreciate any input, right? Like you look at it and tell me it's trash. I need to know that. I mean, it's a small startup, right? We're getting started. We're trying to get funding ourselves. I decided to turn down VC funding myself because how can I say, hey, world, you should all crowdfund and then take VC funds, So I'm self-funded right now, and I'm working with the SEC to be able to do my own crowdfund thing where anyone can invest.
Okay, without telling me your lawyer secrets, how the hell did you get the SEC to do this when apparently every fucking person in the universe, like Coinbase and others, can't seem to get a straight story from the SEC? How did you get the straight story when they can't?
Well, let's be honest. My token isn't live right now, so you'd know if I got the okay by the SEC because this would be out there. So, that kind of thing is still being worked on. But I mean, what I'm doing, and I don't want to accuse anybody, because Coinbase, I think they operate pretty reasonably, and I think they took some chances early on that might not work out for them, but I don't think it was due to any severe fault of their own. But what I'm doing is I'm being very, very conservative up front, and before I do anything, I'm in a sense asking for permission, right? So
I thought Coinbase asked for permission for their earn thing, which never happened. They're going to do a Coinbase.
But they did it. They had earn.
Well, they had some sort of product that they were going to do that they asked for permission first. They went to Gary Gensler and asked him, and Gary Gensler refused to see him, and then they slapped a lawsuit on them.
Well, I mean, I think that might be a little that's a telling of the story, right? But they might have asked for a meeting, and they might have not gotten that meeting, but they then continued to then do that thing. It's not like they were just like, I'm not going to do it. They continued to do it.
They have a lot of money, and they're going to take risks with their money, like any good capitalist would.
And I'm not calling them out for that. I think Coinbase is one of the most reasonable companies I've seen in the crypto space. And conservative generally.
So, sounds like you're. Well, I think if you can actually get things going the right way, then you would be, a banner for how to do things the right way. And also you'd be a first mover. So
the real truth is I want to show blockchain companies that there is another way to raise funds from the public, because that's what crypto has really done for people. There's all these great utilities, but a lot of companies have sold things and use that sale as a way to fund their business, right? And then they think they owe no obligations to those people who bought these things. And if the game doesn't get delivered, if the music doesn't, whatever, that company's use cases, they don't really owe them obligations. But my opinion is, rather than do it that way, leave the games, leave the NFT items to just game items, not towards funding. Come to a platform like Seedstarter or somewhere else. Actually offer your users a way to invest in you, to put that money into you, and then actually get success with you. And then they might also, buy your product as well, but not have to spend $100,000 for that product. Spend $50 for it. Spend $20, 5 cents, whatever that number is.
Okay. And on that note, I wanted to give Jesse the last word, because I really wanted the whole Seedstarter concept to kind of sink in. But
thank you.
I might not have given Titan a chance to comment. So would you like to give the last word, Mr. Titan?
No, I thought this was a fantastic cast, and thank you, Jesse, for taking some time out. I know you're ridiculously busy, and I'm glad, for as much shit as I give you, Faz, for missing some episodes there. It's really good to have you back here.
For now.
No, I get it, but
Christmas is coming up. Shit's gonna get a bit uncoordinated too, and
yeah.
I've also been working later hours, and so things might change there.
So for those who are our regular listeners, for the holiday, probably through mid-January, we're probably most likely going to back the show up 1 hour. We'll probably go on around 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 8/7/6 Central, 6 Pacific. So we will probably be pushing that back just a little bit through the holidays. We don't have any major holidays that fall on Fridays, so we should being the key phrase, be able to continue through the next couple of weeks of various holidays. But we will be behind, just so you know.
All right. Well, I appreciate very much Jesse coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
I'm always happy to have you on, and me and Jesse don't always see eye to eye, but I respect him immensely.
Same. Very much so.
You respect yourself too? That's good.
No, that's not.
Giving you shit. All right. On that note,